Hello, everybody, and welcome back to all new movie news. Brandon McDonald. I'm your host, Brandon McDonald, and today we have a brand new. We have some interesting news about GTA 6, and it's not good. It is the worst thing ever because they are officially announcing they are taking everything that has made GTA successful and cramming it away. They're storing it away and literally taking everything that in GTA 6 that they should be making right. They're taking all the formula and throwing it out the door. All the stuff that made it successful, like on the definitive edition remastered, the trilogy, that one was so different than what it should have been. They took out a lot of stuff and just butchered the game. And after I started playing some of it, and it just wasn't the same. They just butchered the game for political nonsense. And as you can see in this article I'm going to read, they literally fired Dan Hauser because of strip clubs and stuff. Yeah, that's their personal life. Who cares? But they booted him out so that they could make their own projects and screw up the entire company. It's all politically motivated. Yeah, Rockstar. Okay, so expect in GTA 6 no satire at all. Because American satire, gone from the game. And that's what's made the games very interesting and familiar to everybody who's played it. And they're just taking everything out. It's just stupid. So let's get into the article. Sorry I've been stalling, but yeah, this is really making me upset. Okay, guys, so here we are with the article. Rockstar Games cleaned up its frat boy culture in Grand Theft Auto 2. Alright, I'm gonna get emotional during this because it really makes me mad. With a new tone at the company and a changing creative direction, GTA 6 will probably feel very different from its predecessor. In the summer of 2020, after a police officer killed George Floyd, Rockstar Games quietly shelved a mode of play and it planned to release for its Grand Theft Auto online game called Cops and Crooks. The mode was a twist on the children's game where players organized into teams of good guys and bad guys, but seemed especially tone deaf during the global reckoning over police violence. Senior executives at the company concerned about how the narrative might be interrupted during a time heightened skepticism and mistrust of American police. Put it aside, they still haven't made plans to bring it back, according to people familiar with development. This was one of several politically sensitive actions Rockstar, a division of Take-Two Interactive Software Inc., has taken in recent years. The company removed transphobic jokes from the most recent console release of Grand Theft Auto 5 and significantly narrowed its gender pay gap. Rockstar's next game, Grand Theft Auto 6, will include a playable female protagonist for the first time. This is just ruining a lot of stuff politically. According to people familiar with the game, The woman, who is Latina, will be one of a pair of leading characters in a story influenced by the bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde. The people said developers are being cautious not to punch down by making jokes about marginalized groups, the people said, in contrast to previous games. Everything we know about the next Grand Theft Auto, the next installment of that's not something. Moves like once seemed unthinkable for a company whose best-selling franchise is a satirical depiction of America that involves playing gangsters who kill civilians and where women are mostly depicted as sex objects. Grand Theft Auto 5 was a nihilistic parody that threw insults at everything from right-wing radio hosts to liberal politicians inside the company. The tone wasn't much different. Rockstar employees described a workplace culture full of drinking, brawling, and excursions to strip clubs. The company was an early symbol of industry-wide problem of long hours at the office, known as crunch, in which staff were expected to be at their desks many nights and weekends in order to keep a game on schedule. The strategy was financially successful and turned Grand Theft Auto 5 into the second best-selling game of all time, with 165 million copies sold. It also led to burnout, attrition, and a public controversy in 2018 that prompted hundreds of Rockstar employees to speak out about the difficult work environment. Since that outcry, Rockstar has attempted to reinvent itself as a more progressive and compassionate workplace. According to interviews with more than 20 people who work there or left recently, all of whom requested anonymity because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. One employee described it as a speak publicity. One employee described it as a boys' club transformed into a real company. A spokesman for Rockstar declined to comment. Can a kinder, gentler Rockstar still produce the chart-topping caliber of game the studio has been known for? Some employees aren't sure. Morale across the company is higher than it's ever been, according to many staffers, but the development of Grand Theft Auto 6 has been slower than impatient fans and even longtime employees have expected. Much of that has to do with the pandemic, but the delay is also due to some changes that the company implemented in an effect to improve working conditions, such as a restoration of the design department and a pledge to keep overtime under control. Some workers say they're still trying to figure out how to make games at this new iteration of Rockstar and wonder even what a Grand Theft Auto game looks like in today's environment. Besides, several Rockstar employees pointed out that you can't really satirize today's America. It's already a satire of itself. Between the company's new mandate and the 2019 departure of Dan Houser, who led creative direction on many previous Rockstar games. All signs suggest Grand Theft Auto 6 will feel very different than its predecessor. Rockstar Games was founded in 1998 by a handful of British game makers as a subsidiary of Take-Two. With 2001's Grand Theft Auto and sequels, the company revolutionized open-world video games and grew to employ thousands of people, with officials in California, New York, across the UK, and beyond. Grand Theft Auto products accounted for 31% of Take-Two's $3.5 billion in total revenue in fiscal 2022, according to the company's filings. The studio was brought on a culture of seven-day work weeks, said Jamie King, a founder who left after 8 years. But he said that sort of culture is unsustainable. Games like Red Dead Redemption and Max Payne 3 required that some employees referred to as death marches, months of mandatory hour days, and weekends that took a toll on employees' lives, mental health, and sometimes marriages. In October 2018, shortly before the release of Red Dead Redemption, Hauser, one of Rockstar founders, said his team was working on 100-hour weeks to finish the game. The comments, which Hauser later walked back, were the tipping point for many employees. Similar complaints have rippled through the industry in recent years. Game developers working at Activision, Blizzard Inc., Riot Games, and Ubisoft Entertainment SA have all criticized their employees for issues ranging from sexual discrimination to overwork. Activision Blizzard is being sued by the state of California over allegations of sexual harassment and discrimination. While those companies have acknowledged their issues and vowed to change, none has done as much in response to a worker revolt in Rockstar, according to people across America. The transformation of Rockstar includes changes to scheduling, converting contractors to full-time employees in the ouster of several managers. During the protest over the death of George Floyd, there were actually riots. A black man who was murdered by police officers, the company said it would match donations to Black Lives Matter charities, who are terrorists. Majority of Black Lives Matter are domestic terrorists because they literally started the riots, and many of them, to be exact, they are trained Marxists, as in this video.
Concerned that that there's a lack of perhaps ideological direction in Black Lives Matter that would allow it to fizzle out, as he said, in comparison to Occupy Wall Street. As you are advanced in your own organization, as you all are headed to Cleveland to participate in this Black Lives Movement conference, how do you respond to that particular critique? Again, a loving critique from an elder of the struggle that some others share, that I've even shared as well, to be frank, as a concern about, in part because of the co-optation and the appropriation, that a more clear ideological structuring might be of some value here. But how do you respond to those kinds of, again, loving criticisms?
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might. Um, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia, in particular, are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super uh, versed on sort of ideological theories.
Okay. Take time for extra hour they work, and for past 4 years, management has promised the excessive overtime won't be required for Grand Theft Auto 6, one of the most highly anticipated games by fans and investors on the planet. Sticking to that pledge has already prompted changes to the game's original plans for the title, which is code named Project Americas, were for it and to be more vast than any Grand Theft Auto game to date. Early designs called for the inclusion of territories modeled after large swaths of North and South America, including some people familiar with the plan. According to some people familiar with the plans, but the company reeled in those ambitions and cut the main map down to a functional version of Miami and surrounding areas. Rockstar's plan is now continually to update the game over time, adding new missions and cities on a regular basis, which the leadership hopes will lead to less crunch during the game's final months. Still, the game's world remains large, with more interior locations than previous Grand Theft Auto games, factoring the timeline. To help avoid overdrive, Rockstar has also added more producers to keep track of schedules, a move that's mostly been positive, developers said, but one that has also caused bottlenecks. Some employees said they found themselves waiting around to communicate through the middle. Rockstar put in place a new management structure to departure from former. Okay, so literally, guys, I'm gonna stop there. You get the idea. They're really ruining the game. Really bad. Really, really bad. Okay, so yeah, they're really ruining up the game from a lot of the stuff you saw. Like the American Satire is getting taken out and a lot of stuff. A lot of features that literally made the game what it was. What made it great. And they're just trashing it out the window really big time for Grand Theft Auto 6. So I figured I'd bring this to you guys and let you guys know. What do you guys think of this? Let me know down in the comments. Are you a big GTA fan and you're not? And do you think this is going to be a good game with them ruining the satire and everything that makes Grand Theft Auto great and what it was? If you can, please, please leave a like. It helps grow the channel out, and also subscribe. It will help grow the channel out as well. And also, please share this to as many friends as you can as possible to get them on board with the channel. Also, please hit that bell that says subscribe button, click all, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you. This is Brandon McDonald signing off. I'll see you out there, movie lovers.